and strategic guidance in the implementation design, and also monitor the public sector space in tandem with the ministry. Now we have a ministry. Before, there was no ministry. So the public service sector reform was doing all of the coordination. But now there's a ministry that is guiding us with the direction on how we should go. PSRU will conduct system reviews of NDAs in order to investigate institutional weaknesses. We look at how weak institutions are and how they are, the strength of those institutions, and proper recommendations for effective and efficient service delivery. We identify gaps. Also, we provide technical backstopping to support and provide requisite skills for the implementation of some of these things that we'll bring forward. We also our reviews are consistent with Cluster 5 of the Million-Term Development Plan that has to do with revamping the public sector architecture. Why did we conduct this management and functional review? Well, this management and functional review was tasked, as I said, by the Honorable Vice President, who called for a functional and structural review and an in-depth analysis of the ministry itself. There were a lot of meetings wherein mandates, functions, vision, mission statement, and responsibilities were carved for this ministry. The exercise also focused on assessing the staff strength. You know, with this kind of mandate of the ministry, we needed to know exactly if the ministry has the staff capacity to actually drive this process. So we were able to assess that, and we have proposed mandates and functions for this ministry. The methodology. Somebody may ask, how did you go about this? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we did a debt review, and we looked at various policies, cabinet conclusions, the Constitution of Sierra Leone, the Act number 6 of 1991, and also various legislations. Why did we do this? Because the ministry is coming into a new environment, and there are some enactments and laws and legislations that gave certain powers to some institutions. But with the advent of the ministry, we needed to place the ministry in a better position as to supervise and monitor all of these other institutions that are within this sector. We did a qualitative and quantitative analysis. We used that one, and structured questionnaires were given, focus group discussions were held, and we also looked at, for many of you that are seated around this table, we came to you, we interviewed you, we gave you questionnaires, and those questionnaires were filled. So we looked at this thematic focus. Being that it's a new ministry, we looked at the proposed mandate, organizational structure, how will this ministry be coordinating with key public administration stakeholders, the human resource of this ministry. We looked at the staffing, training, and rationalization. We also looked at something that is very critical. This ministry cannot be created, and we don't have the necessary logistics and equipment to function as a ministry. We also looked at the communication and ICT. And finally, we looked at accommodation. We believe for a ministry to function, a ministry of public administration that oversees every one of us within the public sector, we believe they need to be well accommodated in an environment. The minister told me once that he went to Egypt and he saw the Ministry of Public Administration in Egypt. When you go there, you know exactly that this is a ministry. So we made some recommendations in terms of accommodation and how the ministry can be best fit and best placed to perform its mandates and functions. Ladies and gentlemen, quickly, now we don't want to bore you with too many literatures because the report is here available, but we brought out key recommendations, findings, and also recommendations. Let's look at the statutory framework. The ministry was established out of a presidential declaration in July 2023 to provide political and technical leadership in public administration reforms, development of policies, projects and programs to drive public service delivery and good governance initiative. This is why the ministry was formed. However, the ministry is yet to get an approved vision, mission, mandate to align its activities with the medium-term development plan. Why? Because this report has not been submitted to the Cabinet Secretariat for gazetting and approval. So this is what we are about to do. After here, it will be submitted. After consultation with the technical working group, chaired by the Vice President, there was recommendation for vision, mission, and mandate for this ministry. Ladies and gentlemen, the proposed vision of this ministry is the ministry's vision is to provide an efficient, inclusive, and accountable public service in Sierra Leone. What's the proposed mission? To establish an harmonized and coherent policy, legal and regulatory system for an effective and efficient public and political administration in Sierra Leone. What's the mandate? The mandate of this ministry, ladies and gentlemen, is to provide a political and technical lead in the revamp of the public service. Now, let's look at the organizational structure. The review noted with concern that the existing organizational structure of the ministry is weak in responding to the myriad of reform-oriented challenges already articulated in the midterm development plan. Why? Because there was only one sole super director that was running this whole ministry before. I mentioned a super director. But now we've added legs to the super director to make it more functional. So we've segregated the ministry into directorates. Ladies and gentlemen, the recommended directorates are, as per the name given to the ministry itself, public administration and political affairs. So it means the ministry will be having key functional directorates as public administration directorate. Is key to look at all the public administration entities and to see how best they can be in line or in tune as to the mandates that have been given to the minister. Political Affairs Directorate, because as the name itself, it has political affairs. Then you cannot run a ministry like this without a directorate of policy, planning, research, and M&E. There is no way, because as the minister has said, we've been going around to other countries to see best practices, to see what is obtainable in those countries, and to see how best we can replicate them to Sierra Leone. If we don't have this directorate to help us, it will be very much critical for us. So in all of the management and functional reviews we are doing, directorates of policy planning and research are being given to ministries. Staffing. We saw that the ministry is grossly understaffed with a total staff strength of 38, of which 24 of this number belong to the administrative cadre, while the remaining belong to the technical wing. So we see a gap in there. So there should be more technical people, very technical, driving the functions of the ministry. The ministry, through PSC and HRMO, we have recommended that they recruit additional staff with required competencies and skills to drive the functions of the ministry. What I'm happy about is the government of Sierra Leone in the last budget appropriation appropriated 500 jobs. And I think the Ministry of Political Administration is part of that 500 jobs that have been created. So my humble minister, I believe, will take it up with his colleague, Minister of Finance, to see how best these critical roles will be filled within record time. Equipment and logistics. The ministry lacks utility vehicles, motorbikes, to facilitate its functions. The review noted inadequate equipment such as computers, photocopiers, printers for staff to carry out their administrative duties. All these factors significantly may impact the productivity of the ministry if not addressed. People cannot come to work without computers. They can be around for the rest of the day and they can be productive. So we believe to enhance the full functionality of this ministry, they have to be provided with all of these. Also, another finding is accommodation. The ministry shall have adequate office accommodation. It currently occupies just half of the central wing of the 9th floor at the Youyi building. The review also noted that the leadership of the ministry is in talks with the Office of Accommodation Committee and the Ministry of Work for a more spacious office accommodation, so it can house many of the people that you will bring in on board. So the review recommends the ministry to work to liaise with Ministry of Transport, development partners, and other agencies for computers, accessories, and those things that you may need for you to augment your work. We also recommend that the ministry continue the dialogue with the Office of Accommodation Committee and Ministry of Works to provide them with a more spacious, accommodative place where the ministry could be housed. ICT and communications. There's inadequate and effective communication platform, as well as lack of a communication strategy to clearly show how internal and external communications are done within it. Being that it's a new ministry, this is absent. I believe the leadership of the ministry now will try to see how best they can develop a communication strategy to guide the way their communication with internal and external partners should be. Ladies and gentlemen, those were some of the key findings as we wanted to create the ministry. But what is more critical here today is for us to look at what we have created for the full functionality of the ministry. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a minister that was appointed by the president, and a deputy minister was appointed. Over time, a permanent secretary has been given to the ministry. But the ministry only had one super director, I always refer to, another small component. But today, we are presenting to the ministry a full complement that will help them to perform the mandate and functions that have been given to them. So if you look at this organogram, this was done thoroughly in consonant with the ministry, HRMO, to see what we actually need for the functionality of this ministry. This, you see this part as administrative, the deputy secretary is more of administrative under the permanent secretary's office. These are mostly assigned people. They will come from HRMO, they will send them. They will come, like HR will come. Finance will come from the Ministry of Finance. Records will come. ICT will come. Procurement will come. Internal audit will come. These are all people that will call assistant secretaries. They will bring them, they are still here. Some are here. But if the ministry needs more, they will bring them. Yeah. Then under this, from the PS's purview, we have the support staff, secretaries, drivers, messengers, and cleaners. These are solely under the PS. But now let's go. For the ministry to function, there should be technical directors. And those technical directors are being put into 3. But presently, the ministry also, because of the political affairs and other components that have been in existence, we also have regional coordinators that have been in existence before. So now, we have made an organogram that brought into context all of these players to have a befitting. So we have the ministry, we have the director of public administration. There is a deputy director, assistant director, senior public administration specialist, and public administration officers. These ones solely with the directives of the minister will be dealing with all of these institutions under the purview of the ministry, sir. That should be working with BSC, HRMO, Public Cabinet Secretariat, and ourselves, PSI. So some of this directorate will be strongly involved into all of what we'll be doing. Directorate of Political Affairs, as you know, this is the core of the ministry, is another aspect of the ministry. It deals with the deputy will be there, assistant deputy director, senior political affairs director, political affairs officers. They all will be here. They will deal with the political aspect of the ministry. You know, this ministry has 2 legs, and that political aspect is also very powerful. Then we look at the Directorate of Policy Planning, M&E and Research. This is key. If you look, somebody may ask, but we only have 1 deputy director, but we have 2 assistant directors. It's deliberate because they are dealing with key functions. There is policy planning and research. Now, the ministry will be working with institutions to look at obsolete policies, Mr. Minister. So this department is very critical. Now, we should be moving and identifying obsolete policies. So our institutions will be working with this directorate to be able to identify these policies, how we can go about the review of those policies. What are those systems we can put in place to help institutions out there to develop their obsolete policies? Then, there's also a monitoring and evaluations directorate. Mr. Minister, we do all of this management and functional reviews. We do all of these policies. We have the fine things, but we don't monitor. We don't follow up. We don't have data. Like you said in your statement, we don't know how many people are even working for government. So this is where this department will be coming in, with the data itself, to tell us that we have 19,000 civil servants, if they are, and where they are. where they are working, this ministry should be able to do that in consonant with the institutions that are working on that. So, Mr. Minister, this is what we've been able to provide or to build or to put in force for the ministry based on consultations, wide consultations that have taken place over the past 6 months. So on behalf of the Public Sector Reform Unit, Mr. Minister, this is what we have to present to you. But now somebody will ask, what are the next steps? This report will be submitted to the steering committee on the 2nd of May. And the minister will be there and the PS. And it will be approved. But interestingly, the minister is the one taking the report back to cabinet. Like all other reports. We'll be taking all the other management and functional review reports that have been approved to cabinet, and cabinet will now have to set up subcommittees that will look at the implementation of this report. We will provide technical backstopping and support the implementation of this report. And now, as I said again, monitoring and evaluation of the implementation. So we come back to this ministry, we sit together and draw a monitoring framework to monitor all of these institutions that we have conducted management and functional reviews. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. Any questions before we move forward?
We need another round of applause. Thank you very much, Mr. Director, for this apt presentation on the report from the Management and Functional Review of the Ministry of Public Administration. I think let's leave the best for the last. So we open the floor for questions, recommendations, discussions, observations, comments. The floor is open. Feel free to ask the question, or you hold your silence, you hold your peace till death do us part. You speak now, or you hold your peace. Recommendations, observations, comments. The floor is open. Yes, sir. More. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much, Director PSRU, Mr. Alberts, and the team, for this great job done for this ministry. I believe this is a step in the right direction. And from what the Director have presented, those are some things that we've already discussed and agree on. But on the area of the organogram, it's just one thing, that is common. They know that is not there.
Gender. Which was?
The gender unit.
The gender desk.
Yes, because for the gender desk, the reason why the emphasis, we are the focal person for this ministry, and we'll be attending several meetings. And by the Youyi Act, Part 4 stated that all MDs, ministry, departments, and agency review must have a gender unit. So I don't know if what is in the presentation is the same in the organogram. So that's my only concern. So thank you very much, Mr. Director and Team Albert. So that's the only concern I have.
Let me respond to Momo quickly. Mr. Minister, we need to make Momo the gender advocate. So mostly because there is no career path for gender, they are more often assigned. And there is a scheme of service that is being developed for this unit presently, because the Ministry of Gender will have to anchor that. So what they are doing now, they are working on a scheme of service. Then they will be posting gender officers to various ministries. It will be coming very soon. So I believe in the next couple of months, you will have your gender person coming. But it should not be part of like the ministry core structure, because it should be as as a staff of the Ministry of Gender. So we are careful not to create them in the organogram, or else they will come to be part of this ministry. So that's the only thing. But you are right, they should be that they should be seated somewhere.
Another one. Director.
I just want to thank them for the PSI for the brilliant presentation and for the work done. We appreciate the report, sir.
Any other?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Bulama.
Yeah, I also want to thank them for the work. It's a work that we have all done together before, and we are glad that it has come to end this way. And I know that they want to see this ministry function, because that's the more reason why they are going all out to do what they are supposed to do. And one of the challenges we have to make this function, this ministry function, is the area of bringing people on board. But as you bring people on board, you also need a space. So in as much as our minister is working very hard to make sure that we are also appealing that you too help us to just put hands together, make sure that we have a space that will make us work.
Any other? Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Director. I think the organogram is not exhaustive, but as we go, there can be addendum. So, for example, under the Directorate of Public Administration, you can have units. So you can have unit, probably you can say you have a unit responsible for wages and compensation, you have a unit responsible. That's going to be internal. So that's going that we don't want, I agree, we don't want to bring it here because we don't want to make the organogram elaborate. But internally we will agree that we need a unit responsible to monitor the wages and compensation, the motivational package, capacity building. We have a unit responsible for policies and institutional reform. So we have those units under the directorate. So the same thing for the political affairs. We have institutions that will have a unit that will be developing. Under the planning and research, you have the unit for planning, you have the unit for research, and you have the unit for monitoring and evaluation. So you have those units. So it's going to be expansive. So this is not all, and it's not don't look at it as it is. We are going to do an expansion, but the expansion is going to be gradual and progressive, because we need to start small, get ourselves up from the ground, take the first leap, move along. We learn from the mistakes and the lessons. Then we move ahead. As we go, we expand, we learn, we do reviews, we move, we roll out. So that's how we're going to do. So we're not going to start with an expansive staffing. We're going to start small, progressively as the workload increases. So we are going to do expansion at the organizational structure. So I want to say thank you very much for that. There are critical issues that we need to take into consideration. One is the office space. We have been working behind the scenes, and we have been writing a letter to the Secretary to President, on this very critical issue. The issue of transportation, mobility is also very, very critical. But I think the office space is very, very critical, and I can assure staff that. We have the support of His Excellency the President. We have the support, finances there. They are ready to support, but we have to get ourselves moving. And now that we have this document, if there is no other addendum to it, then can we have the adoption? Can somebody move the motion for the adoption of this document at the ministerial level? So, Momo Conte, your position, please, because it has to be documented.
Momo Conte, Assistant Director, Ministry of Public Administration and Political Affairs.
So, who move the motion for the adoption? Any second? Seconded by the Common Secretary. So, this document has been adopted.
Officially hand over. Yeah.
Now that the document has been adopted by the ministry itself, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the leadership of the public service, I want to present report of the management and functional review of the Ministry of Political Administration and Political Affairs to the Honorable Minister, Amara Kalon.
Got it? You got it?
Small, very small.
Wait, I'm not on time. One at a time.
You got it?
Yes, thank you very much.
So,
Yes.
that,
Yes, you have
yes.
3 copies.
So thank you very much,
So
guys.
we also need a soft copy.
Yes, I will send it.
So it's a pleasure.
So that we can send it to Cabinet
It's a
Secretary.
pleasure having you all. And we will continue. The next stage of the document is presenting it to the steering committee. Well, for me, I'm just a visitor to that committee. I'll be going there to present the document. My permanent secretary is the one that is representing the ministry in the National Steering Committee. And that committee is chaired by the Secretary to President. And the Secretary to President is the chief advisor to the President on the public service. So that's the highest body that we're looking at this document again. And once it's approved, then I can now have the authority to present this document to Cabinet for Cabinet approval. And once Cabinet approve it, then it is mandatory now on the Ministry of Finance, HRMO, PSC, to do the appropriations in terms of its implementation. So that the roadmap has been enshrined in the next step. So I want to say thank you very much to all of you. And Mr. Pierce, we are done.
Yes. Well, on behalf of the Honorable Minister and all my colleagues, we want to thank the public sector reform team for really giving us this opportunity here this morning for submitting to us this important document. This document has now opened the way for us to be legally as a ministry, to be legally embodied as a Ministry of Public Administration and Political Affairs. And as I being the permanent secretary of this ministry, I want to assure you that we will do justice to this report and we will make sure all the recommendations in this report is fully adhered to. So I thank you once more for this job well done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Minister.
And we have one.
No, take good picture.
Yana.
Yeah,
Take
outside,
one
yeah.
outside. Minister. No, take one. Take one.